Here is lesson 2.5 for all instruments. Now that you've got a couple lessons under your belt, you've gotten through the first couple pages of Standard of Excellence, we are going to talk about how to count so that it's easier and it won't be as confusing for you. I want to go over just, first of all, a couple of simple rhythms. Okay? You know, because you've gone through the first couple pages, you know your whole note gets 4 beats. Pretty simple. From lesson 2, I believe it's lesson 2, was it? Yes. From lesson 2, you know that your half note gets 2 beats. In lesson 3, you're going to learn about a quarter note getting 1 beat. And we're going to talk about that today. Okay. Sorry, that glare is a little bit weird. See how that works. Alright. So you know that. Okay, I'm going to erase that so that we have enough room to work on all of our rhythms and notes. Alright. You also know that when you're counting, you have to count a steady beat. Okay, during class we always talk about playing with a steady beat. For instance, I've talked to you about a metronome. Just gives a nice steady beat the whole time. Okay? So when you're playing a piece of music and you want to know how to play a note, first of all you have to know that your whole note is 4 beats. So your whole note is, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, off. So you're going to play it for 4 full counts. Okay, it's going to be 1 note, 1 sound, solidly. For instance, this is not a whole note. I played the same note for 4 beats. That was 4 quarter notes, which we'll talk about later. But your whole note has to be 1 note, just 1, that lasts 4 beats. Okay, now how do we know that's 4 beats? Well, I counted in my head. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so that way I kept my beat steady. So we know that a whole note is 4 beats long. So this will start on beat 1. It'll go all the way through beat 4. Okay? Because if you stop right on beat 4, it's only 3 beats long. You have to go through the note, through the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. So technically, that whole note, when you start that note, you go all the way to beat 1 of the next measure. That's what makes it 4 beats long. Okay? So we know a whole note is 4 beats. 4 consistent, steady beats. Let's talk about our half notes. Same kind of idea. They are 2 beats. So it goes all the way through to beat 3. Okay? Because you have all of beat 1, all of beat 2, and then right when you're about to start beat 3, that's the end of that first half note. 1, 2, 3, 4, ta, ta. Or with this, 1, 2, 3, 4, ta, ta. Okay? So, same kind of idea with your whole note. Actually, I'll keep this on so you can hear it. Here are our half notes. There's 4 half notes. Okay? Now, is this right? I played the same length, but I played more notes, didn't I? Because I tongued it. Okay? So you have to make sure they're connected. Here's a very, very easy rule to help you out with counting rhythms. Or when it comes to playing rhythms. How many notes are in this measure? There's 1 note, right? Just a whole note. So how many notes are you going to play? 1. You're going to play 1 note per written note. So for instance, the second measure. Keep in mind, bar lines divide the measure, so this is the first measure, here's second measure, third measure, fourth, fifth, sixth. Okay? How many notes are in this measure? If you said 2, you're correct. So how many notes am I going to play? 2. How about these quarter notes? 4 in that measure, right? So I'm going to play 4 notes. How many notes are there in the first line? First line, there's 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a line, okay? So, if I were to play that line, we would get this. If you counted it, I played 7 notes. If you didn't, I'll rewind it and let's do it again. Okay? So that's how you count those rhythms. Now, what about when we're learning to count the notes? How do we do that? Because we know how long they are, we know how many notes we're supposed to play now, but what if it's a new piece of music and you have quarter notes and half notes mixed in with each other? First thing I want you to do is I want you to repeat this after me. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and if you didn't count it with me, do it. Okay? That's what you have to think as you're playing through all of this. Okay? If you count steadily. 1 and 2 and, sorry, I'm going too slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If you keep your counting steady, that's going to make this easier. If you don't, it's going to be really confusing. Okay? So, we know a half note is how many beats? 2, because we already covered it up here. So this is beats 1. I'm going to do and. 1 and 2 and. Okay? Why am I doing that? Actually, you know what? Let me write it this way. The reason I'm doing it that way is because saying and helps keep the beats together. So we have 1 and 2 and. Basically, the ands are all eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ba 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 ba. Those are eighth notes. We're going to cover those later. Okay, so you have 2 full beats for that half note. For the quarter note, that's 1 beat, right? So that's the 3 and the plus. And the last one is a 4 and the plus. So that means 2 beats, 1 beat, 1 beat. 1, 3, 4. Why did I say 1, 3, and 4? Why didn't I say 2? Okay? Reason is, because I just changed how I did it. That is not what I want you to do. Okay? When you're counting, always count the same. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and just keep on going. Okay? Now, let's take away all this extra stuff that we did, and we're just going to leave the first. 1 is the first beat there, 3 is the first for that quarter note, and 4 is the first for this one. That's what you're going to say when you're playing it. 1 and, oh sorry, that's what you're going to clap when you play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So, how does counting and clapping work towards playing? Easy. Your counting is the same thing as tapping your foot. Your clapping is exactly what you're going to do to make notes. If you're a wind instrument, your clap is when you're going to tongue a note. If you're a percussionist, your clap is when you're going to strike something. Okay, whether it be the keyboard or a drum head. Okay, so this first measure goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and count that with me. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Alright, that much should make sense to you. Now, at the beginning of a new measure, we always start with 1. Okay? And then, that's 1 whole beat because it's a quarter note. Then we have 2. Then that half note is 3 and 4, right? Okay? So, we're not going to say the and 4. I'm sorry, we're not going to clap that because that's only one note. So this measure goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Think about how I did that. I clapped 3 times, so there's only 3 notes. But I counted steadily so I didn't lose my tempo. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? And let's finish up. See if you can count that by yourself. Go ahead and pause the video and try to count it, because I'm going to write it up right now. We have 1, we have 2. Now it's a half note, so that beats 2 and 3. Which means that quarter has to be 4. Excuse me. Excuse me. Alright. So, we count this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? That should all make sense to you, counting wise. Now that I've erased it, can you go through and count all that by yourself? What if I did this? Can you count both these lines, all 6 measures? If you can't, then go back and review the video. Okay? Now here's another thing I would do. I'm going to change colors. Let's say, for instance, I had trouble with this measure. Okay? What I would do is what we've just been working on. I would write in my counts. I know that's 1. I know that goes 2 through 3. And I know that's 4. If you think about your quarter notes, you'll get it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And that's how that works. All right, this is just a basic introduction to counting. We're going to have another lesson later on once we get to 8th notes, and I will show you how to count those. Okay? That was lesson 2.5. Thanks for joining me.